At the beginning of the film, we see a large research facility located at an airport near the equator. This facility is conducting genetic research on new dinosaur species, and they are trying to create more powerful and ferocious hybrids. But unfortunately, one day, one of the scientists there made a mistake when he entered the biology lab. He didn't realize that the chocolate cake crumbs he was eating had fallen into the lab. Unfortunately, they short-circuited the electronic door, causing it to be unable to close. Not only that, but this incident also affected the entire control and computer system, causing all the dinosaur enclosure doors to swing wide open. A state of chaos began to spread everywhere. All the staff fled, but that scientist was trapped inside. His colleague tried to open the door for him, but when she saw a strange and ferocious hybrid dinosaur rushing towards them, she backed away. He begged her to open the door, but she refused. Suddenly, the dinosaur attacked and ate him alive right in front of her. 17 years have passed since that accident, and 32 years since the dinosaurs were resurrected. Now, people no longer visit dinosaur parks because the unsuitable climate makes them weak or die. However, a few dinosaurs have created their own world around the equator, where humans are forbidden to go due to the danger. Later, a dinosaur caused a traffic jam when it escaped from a zoo. At this point, we meet Zora and Martin. Zora was a former Special Forces soldier, and Martin sought her out because he needed her to collect blood samples from dinosaurs for use in producing medicine. The problem is that they have to violate numerous international treaties and laws to get to the dinosaur area. Martin says the company chose Zora because they know she will complete the mission, but Zora refuses and gets out of the car. Martin chases after her, saying they intend to use these samples to cure heart disease. She tells him, "Don't even try to soften me up with those words." Martin then says the company will pay her $10 million. Hearing that, she replies, "Assemble the team now." They begin to form a team. The first person is the dinosaur scientist Henry, who works in a museum. Martin introduces Zora and says Henry is the one who can extract a drug that can extend the lives of heart patients by 20 years. A drug that could have saved Zora's mother, who had recently died from that disease. Zora says that doesn't move her. Martin continues to explain that they need to get samples from the three largest dinosaur species: the sea-dwelling, the land-dwelling, and the flying kind. Most importantly, the samples must be taken while they are alive. Henry strongly objects, but Martin convinces him that he will be paid very generously and will also have a once-in-a-lifetime adventure seeing dinosaurs in their natural environment. Finally, Henry agrees. Next, they find the mercenaries Zora has chosen. The first is Duncan, who initially refuses the mission, but Martin manages to persuade him with money. He points to a location on the map and says there will be no police because no one is foolish enough to venture into the dinosaur area on their own. At that moment, a man named Bobby walks in and says, "I'll go too." Zora accepts, and the whole team begins their journey. They arrive at the ship where Duncan's assistant pilot joins the group. Martin says they have bought data to locate the sea dinosaur. Zora asks why the dinosaurs are only around the equator. Martin explains that the climate there is warm, similar to their ancient climate. But he also warns that the dinosaurs there are wild and ferocious from having lived independently for many years. Our mission is to get 3 blood samples without any incidents. Bobby prepares the weapons and says the guns contain a powerful neurotoxin that can knock a dinosaur unconscious for a few seconds. Then, Henry introduces a special gun for taking blood samples. When enough sample is collected, the dart will automatically deploy a parachute and fall gently to the ground. It is important to shoot from a distance of 10 meters because dinosaur skin is very thick. Everyone likes the idea but objects when they learn that Henry himself will be using the gun. In the end, they decide to let Zora be the shooter. At the same time, a family is on a boat trip. Suddenly, a sea dinosaur that Zora's team is looking for appears and collides with their boat, nearly capsizing it. Luckily, everyone narrowly escapes death. The father, Reuben, jumps down to check and discovers the boat is badly damaged. As soon as he gets back on deck, the sea dinosaur returns and rams the boat again, causing it to flip over. Xavier is trapped inside. Reuben shouts, telling Xavier to get the first aid kit, which contains flares and a radio. Xavier manages to get the bag, even though the boat has started to sink. He kicks hard at the window until it breaks, and then swims out. Reuben is the first to surface while Teresa worries about her fiancé. A moment later, Xavier also surfaces, and she is relieved. But suddenly, the sea dinosaur returns and charges. Xavier panics and swims as fast as he can, reaching the lifeboat just before it catches him. The next morning, Duncan hears a distress signal from Reuben's boat. He immediately informs the team that he is going to rescue them. Martin objects, saying they have a primary mission. The group splits into 2 factions. one wanting to continue getting the sample, the other wanting to save people. In the end, Zora and Duncan decide to go to the rescue despite all dangers. When Reuben sees their boat, he fires a flare to attract their attention. Duncan and Zora quickly steer the boat to rescue them. Once safely aboard, Reuben recounts the encounter with the sea dinosaur. Duncan scolds Reuben for taking his children on such a dangerous trip. Reuben replies that he had no idea there were dinosaurs there. Henry explains that the dinosaurs attack boats because they think they are enemies. Reuben asks what everyone is doing here. Zora explains that her team is hunting dinosaurs to collect blood samples. Before she can say more, the dinosaur appears on the radar again. Zora and her team immediately take action. She stands firm at the bow, holding the sampling gun, while Henry comes to assist. The dinosaur continues to circle. Duncan takes the helm from his assistant Nina to approach within 10 meters. When they are only 15 meters away, the dinosaur suddenly disappears beneath the water. Zora waits for it to reappear. When it surfaces, she fires the first shot, but misses. She asks Henry for another syringe and reloads. Suddenly, the dinosaur closes in and rams the boat, causing Zora to lose her balance and nearly fall. It tries to attack her, but Henry saves her in time and pulls her back up. Zora immediately regains her composure and fires the second shot. As Henry described, when the sample is full, the syringe pops up into the air and deploys a parachute. Henry quickly jumps down to retrieve the syringe. Everyone is very happy to have gotten the first sample. Zora and Henry then place the blood sample in a preservation bag. At this point, Henry confesses to Zora that he doesn't want to hand the sample over to Martin's company because they will monopolize the drug and the poor won't be able to afford it. He suggests sharing the sample with scientists around the world so that everyone can have access to the drug. Zora says she will think about it. Suddenly, another group of sea dinosaurs appears, but not as large as the previous one. Henry looks and says this is group hunting behavior. Zora asks what he means. He replies, "It means we are the prey." Bobby immediately rushes out and starts firing the neurotoxin at the dinosaurs. But one suddenly lunges and attacks him. Bobby tries to hold on to something, but is pulled down and devoured. Immediately after, the giant sea dinosaur returns and causes the boat to rock violently. Nina and Reuben's second daughter, Isabalala, nearly fall off the boat, but Reuben manages to pull his daughter back, while Nina manages to get back on her own and is helped by Duncan. Duncan steers the boat towards a reef area where the large dinosaur cannot swim due to the shallow water. Meanwhile, the group prepares for impact. Zora ties the supply bag to a float to keep it from sinking. Reuben hugs his two daughters, telling Teresa to use the radio to call for help. But Martin stops her, saying that if they call for help, they will be arrested for trespassing. Teresa insists on calling anyway. Martin shoves Zora, causing her to nearly fall off the boat. She pleads with Martin for help, but he refuses. Reuben sees his daughter fall and screams. Xavier suddenly jumps into the sea to save her. This action surprises everyone. Then, Reuben hugs Isabalala and they jump in together. The others try to stop them, but are too late. The giant dinosaur tries to capsize the boat, damaging the engine. Duncan holds the helm tightly, heading straight for the rocks and shouting for everyone to jump off the boat. He is so busy laughing at the dinosaur that he doesn't notice he has reached the shore. Afterward, we see Reuben's family is all safe. They enter a cave to rest. Teresa reveals that Martin tried to kill her, which shocks everyone. As for Zora and her group, they are all okay and are trying to move supplies ashore. But Nina doesn't notice the dinosaur lurking behind her. It lunges and pulls her into the water. Everyone tries to save her, but it's too late. The dinosaur swallows her whole. Zora now feels that there is something unusual about these dinosaurs. She asks Martin, and he confesses that there was once a research facility that conducted experiments to hybridize dinosaurs to make them more ferocious and brutal. But one day, an incident occurred, and all the dinosaurs escaped. Zora is terrified and declares, "We must complete this mission as soon as possible." She has prepared a backup plan in case of an emergency. She has contacted a helicopter that will come to their exact location if the team does not send a signal within 24 hours. The helicopter will circle for 2 minutes over a landing pad near the center, and if they don't see anyone, they will leave. Therefore, the team needs to quickly collect the blood samples and get to that point in time. On the other side, Reuben decides to follow the pipes that supply power to the center because he is sure they will lead the group there. Along the way, Zora asks Martin about Teresa's near-death experience. "Why were you standing so close without saving her?" Martin lies, saying he didn't notice. They continue into a swampy area in the forest, feeling like there are creatures underfoot. A creature is about to attack Martin, but he narrowly escapes. On the other side, Ruben tells his family to find sticks for self-defense and thanks Xavier for saving Teresa. But as usual, Xavier's dismissive reply drives Ruben crazy. Later, Isabalala encounters a small dinosaur and is frightened. Teresa comes and shoos it away. Back with Zora and her group, they continue to press forward. But Martin separates to get a drink and happens to discover a crashed helicopter with many dead soldiers around it. He sees a gun in a soldier's hand and quietly takes it. That night, Ruben's family huddles together. Xavier says he will stand guard, telling everyone to sleep peacefully. A while later, Ruben falls asleep. The small dinosaur comes to Isabalala again. She throws it a chocolate bar, which it eats, and then lies down to sleep next to her, as if it feels safe. While Xavier is relieving himself, two predatory dinosaurs appear. One is about to pounce on him, but a flying dinosaur suddenly swoops down and eats the other one, scaring Xavier to death. The next morning, Zora and her team reach the valley of the giant land dinosaurs. They hear roars, but don't see anything yet. Suddenly, a whole herd of giant dinosaurs appears, waking up the entire area. Everyone is stunned by the sight, no longer feeling afraid. Henry is so moved that he touches one to examine it. Zora takes the opportunity to shoot a dart into the neck of one. Duncan quickly collects the blood sample and hands it to Martin. Then, they head to the mountain where the giant flying dinosaurs have their nests. On Ruben's family side, they wake up and realize Isabalala is very close with the small dinosaur. The little girl says, "I'm going to name it." The family laughs and lets her play with it. Suddenly, Xavier slips and falls off a cliff edge. The group panics and runs to save him, but they all fall down together. When they get up, they discover an abandoned facility across the river containing a rubber dinghy. Teresa decides to cross and get the dinghy to use for transport to the center, especially since Ruben is injured and cannot walk. Teresa crosses the river in fear, finding the corpse of a dinosaur with its belly eaten out. Suddenly, a small carnivorous dinosaur appears, but then it freezes and runs away. Teresa is surprised and discovers a giant predatory dinosaur sleeping right behind it. She moves with extreme caution, gets the dinghy, and pulls it to the river. Although Ruben and Xavier shout warnings not to inflate the dinghy, Teresa does it anyway, and the noise wakes the dinosaur. But when the dinghy hits the water, it has vanished. As she steps into the dinghy, she sees the dinosaur drinking water nearby. She immediately paddles the dinghy towards her family. Just as the whole group gets on board, the dinosaur spots them and gives chase very aggressively, even when they enter deep water. It dives down and flips the dinghy, throwing everyone off. Ruben tries to escape by diving underwater, luckily escaping its jaws and clinging to a rock with Xavier and Teresa. Isabalala is trapped under the dinghy, unable to swim to her father. When the dinosaur hears a slight noise from under the dinghy, it opens its mouth to bite, but Isabalala has already dived out. The dinosaur chases her, but in a split second, she manages to swim to Ruben, while the monster gets its head stuck in a rock crevice. The dinghy floats down the current towards them. Meanwhile, Zora and her team have reached the mountain. She, along with Henry and a mercenary named Leclerc, rappels down to the dinosaur nest, leaving Martin and Duncan at the top to hold the ropes. As Duncan is securing the rope, he sees a creature approaching. He tells Martin, but Martin panics and almost leaves Henry to die. Luckily, he manages to regain his composure. They continue down to the nest and find dinosaur eggs. Henry intends to take a blood sample from an egg, but as he is doing so, a giant flying dinosaur appears and attacks, nearly killing Henry. Zora has to use herself as bait. Leclerc sees this and throws a hammer at the dinosaur from above, which angers it and causes it to attack him. Zora shouts for Martin and Duncan to pull them up. As the dinosaur gives chase, the rope is pulled taut, nearly causing Henry and the blood sample to fall. Zora manages to hold the rope, but the blood vial falls into a crevice. Henry tries to swing on the rope to retrieve the sample. Meanwhile, the flying dinosaur returns, grabs Leclerc, and devours him in front of them, then charges at Martin and Duncan. They both run, find a cave, and quickly hide inside. In the air, Henry's rope breaks, and he falls into the water. Everyone jumps in after him to check, and luckily, he is okay. And when the blood sample falls with its parachute, they retrieve it. Thus, the team has completed all 3 blood samples they needed and decides to return to the center as quickly as possible. By late afternoon, Ruben and his family have reached the center. They go inside to look for any communication equipment. Not long after, Zora and her team also arrive, but don't see Ruben's family anywhere. Zora spots footprints and knows they are inside, so she calls out until the two groups meet. At this point, Teresa exposes Martin, revealing that he left her for dead. Martin immediately pulls out a gun, threatening that no one should touch him, and then snatches the bag of blood samples from Zora's hand after threatening to shoot her. In the midst of the argument, Ruben's daughter screams for everyone to be quiet. There's an announcement about dinosaurs in the vicinity. Suddenly, the generator starts up, the whole facility lights up, and loud music blares. Zora warns that the dinosaurs will come because of the noise and that they must hide immediately. But before they can hide, two extremely ferocious hybrid dinosaurs charge in and attack. Everyone scatters to escape. Ruben's family runs into a supermarket and closes the door. Martin hides under a car, while Henry and Duncan go into a lab. One dinosaur chases Zora, forcing her to hide under the car with Martin. Martin shoots at it but misses, which enrages it. It grabs the bag of blood samples and slams him to the ground. Martin crawls back under the car. The dinosaur breaks down the supermarket door and chases Isabalala, but she hides in a display refrigerator, using her backpack to block its view. Ruben distracts it by throwing a piece of metal, helping Isabalala escape, but accidentally makes a noise. The monster turns back to pursue the whole family. Ruben opens a manhole cover, and the family climbs down, closing it behind them. Meanwhile, Duncan discovers a sewer pipe that leads to the sea, where there is a dinghy that could be an escape route. Henry is still trying to figure out how the hybrid dinosaurs were created, oblivious to his surroundings. They hear a helicopter, and Duncan runs out to signal it. Henry also fires a flare, which the pilot sees and turns back. But Henry doesn't know that a giant hybrid dinosaur is approaching. Zora and Martin are now trapped, but Martin sees the car keys on the gas cap, immediately starts the engine, and drives off. Zora finds herself exposed to the dinosaur and runs to hide in the bushes. Just then, the dinosaur hears Ruben's family in the sewer and rushes down after them, and Zora decides to follow to save them. Henry is about to head for the helicopter, but the dinosaur jumps up and destroys the aircraft, sending Henry running for his life. He meets up with Duncan. They both run down the sewer and meet Ruben's family. Duncan informs them that he saw a dinghy nearby and plans their escape. Just as they are about to leave, Zora appears, firing her gun at the dinosaur following them, killing it and saving everyone. Zora says they must get to the dinghy immediately. If Martin gets there first, he'll leave us behind. The group runs to the end of the tunnel, but the gate is locked. The control panel is on the other side. Everyone tries to squeeze through the gap in the gate, but can't fit. Just then, another dinosaur crawls down from the ceiling. Isabalala, with her small frame, decides to risk it and squeezes through the gap. She successfully reaches the control panel and opens the gate, but the mutant dinosaur charges in. Luckily, Martin drives his car forward, attracting its attention, causing it to stomp and flip the car over. Everyone takes the opportunity to run outside. Duncan and Zora regain control of the panel and manage to close the gate just in time. The hybrid dinosaur eats Martin in front of everyone, causing the bag of blood samples to fall to the ground. Henry picks up the bag, and the whole group runs towards the dinghy. But the mutant dinosaur pursues them, nearly catching Isabalala. Duncan decides to sacrifice himself, using a flare to lure the dinosaur towards him. He yells to Zora, "I'll be right behind you," then acts as bait, making the dinosaur chase him. The group gets into the inflatable dinghy. Just then, the dinosaur turns back and is about to attack. Ruben tries to start the dinghy, but on the third try, the engine roars to life. The group escapes, both happy and heartbroken over Duncan's sacrifice. Suddenly, a flare lights up in the middle of the water. Duncan is still alive. Zora turns back to save him, pulling him onto the dinghy. The whole group is overjoyed. In the final scene, Zora asks Henry what he plans to do with these blood samples. Henry replies that the decision is hers. Zora chooses to share the blood samples with scientists around the world so that all of humanity can benefit from the new medicine. And so the film ends. Thank you for watching. What do you think of this film? Please comment below.